Nobody does it, Bennett. Yes, I've gone and said it. Movies and games, some things that are lame. Nobody does it, Bennett.
Good evening and welcome. There are some superb movies ahead on Movie Review Universe. Next time, we'll join Jeff Goldblum, as it's not a research expedition anymore, it's a rescue operation, in the 1997 film The Lost World: Jurassic Park. Right now though, it's time for Titanic. Hello and welcome to Nobody Does It Bennett, Movie Review Universe, otherwise known as the MRU. I am your host, the Greg Bennett Experience, and tonight I'm joined by Tenson and Jemma as we go through the movie Titanic, Part 2. Yes, that is correct, Part 2. If you haven't listened to Titanic Part 1, I suggest going back and listening to that podcast first, just so you can follow along with us from the start. What we're going to do tonight is complete our run-through of James Cameron's 1997 film, Titanic, acting out certain scenes with their own unique voices. We will then give our ratings for the film. Being there's 3 hosts this week, my ratings will not count. I will leave that power in Jemma and Tenson's hands. I will still say what I would have rated it though, just so you guys know what I would have gone with. And I did mention this at the beginning of Part 1, but I will say it again. At any point where we might be having a laugh, it will be at the movie's expense. We do not mean any disrespect to the people who are involved in this tragedy and are not making light of this very real maritime disaster. Tenson, Jemma, welcome back. Doesn't feel that long ago that we were here for Part 1.
I know.
It's been such a long time.
Yes.
Excited for Part 2?
Very.
Any highlights from Part 1, you guys?
I think Tenson's voices are always a highlight for me. They're so consistent. They're wonderful.
Your Ruth is very old. Rose, I forbid it.
I can't remember what she sounds like.
Half the fun is just hearing what voice is going to come out, because if you want to listen to what it sounds like, you go watch the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
If you want to know what our interpretation of that character is in our own voice, then
listen to the podcast.
Stick around. You might just realise there could be a gremlin in your house. I know the first part of the Titanic, although I much prefer the second part with the sinking and everything, it's good that it has it just to build it up. Otherwise, if you tried to just go straight to the disaster, you wouldn't really care for Jack, you wouldn't care for Rose, you wouldn't get introduced to everyone, so you'd pretty much be introducing everyone as the Titanic is sinking, and it would just be kind of a mess.
You have more of an emotional connection with the characters.
Yeah. There is a movie that came out in the 50s called A Night to Remember as well. James Cameron actually took a lot of inspiration from quite a few lines in Titanic, the one he did, that actually are taken directly from that film. Like we intend to go out as gentlemen, which was here in Part 2. That's actually a line taken strictly out of A Night to Remember. Although A Night to Remember actually mentions the Californian, which was one of the ships people say was in the area when Titanic was sinking, so it didn't go for aid because there's a lot of stories that they didn't have the operator was asleep. One of the things was the captain thought maybe they were having a party. That's why the fireworks were going. It wasn't for SOS, because it's Titanic. They won't be sinking, it's unsinkable. But yeah, so if you watch Titanic and you want to have some more information, there's always documentaries that come out, but A Night to Remember is also a very good movie. If you like what you hear or have any suggestions or thoughts, who knows, it might be about Titanic. Well, you can contact us by going to the Nobody Does It Bennett Facebook page, or by hitting us up on the Twitter at NobodyDIBennett. You can also email us at nobodydoesitbennett@outlook.com, or by going to our website, nobodydoesitbennett.buzzsprout.com. Nobody Does It Bennett is available on Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and other podcast outlets. Nobody Does It Bennett is now also available on YouTube, so don't forget to like and subscribe. Right, let's go back to Titanic. Ladies and gentlemen, Titanic, Part 2 from 1997. Sinking ship waves.
Oh.
You want to know why nobody does it, Bennett?
So we're back with the movie now for Part 2 of Titanic. Movie continues where we left off. Previously on Titanic. The iceberg has just struck the Titanic. Water is flowing into the lower levels and people up on the deck can see the iceberg as Titanic continues gliding by it. The The Crow's Nest believe it was just a close call. A very sweaty Murdoch tells his men to note the time in the log. Captain Smith arrives on deck.
What was that, Mr. Murdoch?
An iceberg, sir. I put her hard to starboard and had the engines full at stern, but it was too close. I tried to port around it, but she hit, and
Close the watertight doors.
doors are closed, sir.
Smith had to look over the side looking for damage.
Find the carpenter, get him to sound the ship.
Yes, sir.
Meanwhile, in third class, Fabrizio jumps off his bunk bed.
Oh, I forgot about Fabrizio.
Where's he been?
So did Jack. And into water that is coming in. Tommy says that they need to get the hell out of here. As Thomas Andrews comes walking through the hallway, one of the Titanic stewards lets a lady know that the engine stopping is nothing to worry about. Probably throwing an engine blade. Even the rats are fleeing the third class quarters. Like that, the rats are running and they're like, follow the rats, they know where to go. Cal comes out of his room frantic, saying that he's been robbed. Lovejoy says to get the Master of Arms. No, you moron. Some guys are kicking around ice on the upper deck, having a grand old time. Jack overhears the captain being informed nearby him about the flooding in the lower levels. Andrews is with them.
This is bad.
We should tell Mother and Cal.
Cuts a Cal in his room smoking. I mean, of course he can, but God forbid Rose does it. The Master of Arms thinks the sketches are very good. Lovejoy sees Jack and Rose arriving. Lovejoy slips the heart of the ocean into Jack's pocket. How he doesn't know it's there is beyond me after accounts of it being so heavy. It's like, how did he not notice he dropped a massive diamond into his pocket?
Yeah.
54-carat diamond in his pocket.
That's the from the soundtrack.
Yes.
Rose and Jack enter Cal's room saying how something serious has happened. Cal agrees. He says 2 things were taken, but now Rose is back. Cal gets Jack searched for the other. The officers pull the heart of the ocean out of Jack's pocket.
This is horse poopy.
It's actually something else, but I put that instead.
Don't you believe it, Rose? Don't.
He couldn't have,
Of course he could. It's easy enough for a professional.
but I was with him the whole time. This is absurd.
Perhaps he did it while you're putting your clothes back on, dear.
Ugh. Real slick, Cal. Rose, they put it in my pocket.
Shut up.
It's not even your pocket, is it, son? Property of A.L. Ryerson.
Whoops, that's right. Jack grabbed the guy's hat and jacket from the bench before. Slick move, Lovejoy. The jacket was reported stolen.
I just borrowed it. I was gonna return it.
Rose looks shocked at Jack. Was it all a lie?
You know I didn't do this, Rose. You know it. Don't you believe them, Rose? You know it.
Jack gets dragged away out of the room. Cut to Thomas Andrews, rolling out Titanic blueprints, while others, including Captain Smith and Bruce Ismay, are nearby. Andrews explains the compartments are filling up with water. When can we get back underway, damn it? That's 5 compartments. She can stay afloat with the first 4 compartments breached, but not 5. Andrews looks seriously at Captain Smith. Not 5. As she goes down by the head, the water will spill over the tops of the bulkheads at E deck. From one to the next, back and back. There's no stopping it.
The pumps, if we open the doors.
Pumps buy you time, but minutes only. From this moment, no matter what we do, Titanic will founder. Bruce Ismay is stunned. But this ship can't sink. She's made of iron, sir. I assure you, she can, and she will. It's a mathematical certainty.
How much time?
Andrews looks deeply into the blueprints, not wanting to answer Captain Smith. An hour, 2 at most. Smith has a terrified look on his face.
And how many aboard, Mr. Murdoch?
2,200 souls on board, sir.
Well, I believe you may get your headlines, Mr. Ismay.
I love that line.
That's a good one.
May get your headlines after all, Mr. Ismay. Cut back to Cal and Rose in their room. Cal slaps Rose across the face. Oh, is it a little slut, isn't it? You look at me when I'm talking to you. A steward comes in and informs Cal that he has been instructed to put on his lifebelt and go up to the decks. I said not now. Captain's orders, Cal. You get the difference in manners between the first and third class Titanic workers. The third class are getting their doors barged open, told to get their lifebelts on in a not so nice manner. Captain Smith gets the radio operator to start sending Morse code SOS messages to other ships.
Tell whoever responds that we're going down by the head and need immediate assistance.
Titanic crew start lowering down and preparing lifeboats. Passengers have all gone back inside. Too cold and noisy for them. No one is taking the evacuation seriously. Yet. Ruth wants the servants to go back and turn on the heaters in their room. She would like a cup of tea when they return. Rose sees Thomas Andrews walking around in disbelief.
Mr. Andrews, I saw the iceberg, and I see it in your eyes. Please tell me the truth.
Andrews pulls Rose to the side. Cal is also listening in. The ship will sink.
You're certain?
Yes. In an hour or so. All this will be at the bottom of the Atlantic. What? Please, tell only who you must. I don't want to be responsible for a panic. Now get to a boat, quickly. Don't wait. You remember what I told you about the boats?
Yes, I understand.
Cut to Jack getting handcuffed up to a pipe. The Master of Arms is needed elsewhere, so Lovejoy says that he'll keep an eye on Jack by pulling out a massive revolver. It's like, I'll take care of him. Honestly, I'm not going to shoot him. It's just in case he moves from that pipe that he can't get away from. Yeah, this guy won't kill Jack or anything. It's fine.
You'd think a cop would know this.
But he just pulls it out like, ready to go. Beautiful gun, though. It's got lots of little trilling stuff in it.
It is cool.
The radio operator says that only one ship has responded. They can be here in 4 hours. Smith's like, 4 hours?
Yeah, 4 hours.
This ship is the Carpathia. Smith snaps and says, 4 hours, before readjusting to a calm state and thanking the radio operator. All hope is now pretty much lost. I wonder if Smith knows in his mind that he's going to now die.
My God.
Light Tolliver is trying to get orders out of Captain Smith, who has reverted into his shell. Smith half-heartedly agrees with Light Tolliver to start getting women and children into the boats. The band come up on deck and start playing to the people waiting up on deck. Meanwhile, back in third class, people are getting pushed around still to get their lifebelts on. Third class gates are closed off though, as it isn't time for the third class to go to the boats yet. The red-haired Irish lady who calms down her children is played by Jeanette Elise Goldstein, who played the character of Vasquez in Aliens.
It's really sad.
Much different role though. She looks so different, and she
I
doesn't.
know. And she even has like the Irish accent.
Yeah, she does. She's way different.
Yeah.
I love her line in Aliens. Bill Paxton goes up to her and goes, "Ever be mistaken for a man?" And she goes, "No. Have you?" Love it.
I love Aliens. So good.
Meanwhile, the lifeboats are starting to get lowered into the water. One of the boats almost tips up to the rope lowering imbalance. The stretch flare is starting to get fired into the sky. From a far shot, you can see the front of the ship is sinking badly already. Jack can see the water rising up outside the window. Lovejoy is rolling a bullet off the table, showing you the ship imbalance.
You know, I do believe the ship may sink. I've been asked to give you this small token of our appreciation.
Lovejoy gut punches Jack.
Compliments of Mr. Caledon Hockley.
Lovejoy grabs the handcuff key and leaves the room. Cal tries to get on board one of the lifeboats. What scum. Ruth says how she hopes the lifeboats will be seated to class and not too crowded.
Oh, Mother, shut up!
Rose grabs her mother.
Don't you understand? The water is freezing, and there aren't enough boats. Not enough by half. Half the people on the ship are going to die.
Not the better half. Rose looks at Cal with contempt. You know, it's a pity I didn't keep that drawing. It'd be worth a lot more by morning.
You unimaginable bastard!
Molly reaches out her hand for Rose to get on the lifeboat. Rose starts backing away.
Goodbye, Mother.
This line gave me a real Heavenly Creatures vibe here when she goes, "Goodbye, Mother."
Oh, so true.
Rose walks off. Cal grabs her. Cal gets upset that she's going back. For him? What, to be a whore to a gutter rat?
I'd rather be his whore than your wife.
Rose goes to run away, but Cal holds on. No! No, I said no! Rose uses her teachings from Jack and hacks up a nice loogie and spits in Cal's face.
Yeah, Rose.
Rose runs away. What do you call a payoff, guys? It's a setup and a payoff. There you go.
It is, very much.
Cut back to Jack. The window outside his room is now fully submerged. Water is seeping into the lower corridors. Rose runs and finds Thomas Andrews. She asks where the Master-at-Arms would take someone who is under arrest. Rose is going to do it with or without Mr. Andrews' help. Only without would take longer. Andrews gives Rose directions down to the lower levels of the ship. Jack starts to see water running into the room. Jack tries to struggle free from the pipe, but it's no use. Rose manhandles the elevator operator and tells him to send the elevator down to the lower levels. As the elevator gets lower and lower, it eventually starts flooding up. I love that when it comes down and the water rushes in.
Yeah.
I'm going back up. I'm going back up.
Back up.
Rose gets out of the elevator. The operator leaves Rose behind and goes back up. Jack goes to higher ground while Rose wades through water like a boss. She's like wading through freezing cold water.
And in a dress as well that looks like it has multiple layers. Like, it would not be easy.
Poor Kate Winslet.
These flooded hallway scenes are great scenes. The lights start flickering while Rose's breasts and shouts echo through the corridors along with the sound of running water.
Her breasts echo through the corridors.
Her breasts, like
Clapping together.
the other soundtrack of Titanic. Just the sound of people running. Jack hears Rose. Jack shouts back. They play a game of Marco Polo until they find each other.
Jack!
Rose, I'm in here, Rose! I'm in here, Rose! Rose, I'm in here! Jack and Rose apologise to one another, and they now both know that Jack was framed. Jack gets Rose to look around for a spare key, but can't find any for the handcuffs.
Rose, how'd you find out that I didn't do it?
I didn't. I just realized I already knew.
It's a lazy way of saying I just didn't look.
Yeah.
The front of the ship goes below the water surface. Jack says that Rose is going to need to find some help. Rose goes off to look for help.
I'll just wait here.
Like that, I'll just wait here.
I mean, it's not like you can do anything else.
That's top shelf Greg humour there. Rose is searching the hallways. The water is now waist deep. Rose goes up a level looking for people to help. She comes across Mario running around the corridors, but he can't wait. He's got to run off because he's got a kart race to win. The guy looks like Mario. If you like podcasts about Mario Kart, why not try Nobody Does It Bennett? Me and Jemma pitch our ideas for a movie or TV show based on the Mario Kart game franchise.
Woohoo!
Rose starts to get distraught. The power goes completely out. The roar of the ship sinking must have been terrifying in the dark. Goes off for a moment, you see this through the hallways. I'm like, the power comes back on again. Rose runs into a steward who sees Rose, grabs her by the wrist and starts dragging her towards the stairs. Rose is trying to get him to help her save Jack, but the steward isn't listening. Rose ends up punching the steward, causing his nose to bleed.
The hell with you!
Rose then sees a horse. No, it's a hose. A horse! Rose then sees a hose nearby and uses it to break the glass on an emergency axe. Rose starts running back to Jack. Meanwhile, Captain Smith sees the water flood in the front of the ship. Rose looks down the stairs. The whole level is nearly completely flooded. This must have been where Kate Winslet nearly drowned. She nearly drowned in Titanic, and I think it must have been the scene where she's like having to hang on to the pipe.
Ah, yes.
Must have like lost her grip or something and fell into the water.
Horrible.
But yeah, Cameron's like, yeah, just keep going.
Just keep rolling.
Keep rolling. Do you think, Tenson, that James Cameron also used ice cold water to make it more authentic?
Oh, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, that water does look pretty cold. Like, yeah.
It's hard to fake breath like that. Like,
Yeah.
In a little bit.
I think it was digital breath for most part. I think they had someone actually go through just concentrating on the breath.
Oh, it was very well done.
I'm not a fan of deep water, but I do enjoy a flooded corridor scene. If you too enjoy flooded corridor scenes or movies with them, well, just let you know that we've done a podcast on the film Deep Blue Sea. Rose hangs onto the pipe in the ceiling of the corridors and commandos her way towards Jack with the axe in hand. Jack gets Rose to do a couple of practice swings. She swings the axe. Jack tells her to try and hit the same spot again on the cupboard. Rose swings again and misses where she swung before by a wide margin.
Okay, that's enough practice. Come on, Rose. You can do it. Listen, Rose. I trust you.
Jack closes his eyes, probably realizing he's probably going to have one of his hands chopped off. Rose swings and... success. She cuts the chain and not Jack's hands. Jack and Rose start to head out and up towards the deck of the ship. The way that Rose came in is now flooded, so they have to find another way. The lifeboats that have been dispatched can now see how badly Titanic is sinking. More and more people are loaded into the boats. Panic is setting in. Hornblower himself is one of the officers on Titanic. Others might know him as Reed Richards or Mr. Fantastic from the Fantastic Four movies from the early and mid-2000s. Lovejoy says there's a boat on the other side letting men on. Cal says then that's their play. But Cal will need some insurance first. Jack and Rose burst through a door. The nearby steward says how they'll have to pay for that. That's White Star Line property, that is.
Shut up!
Rose and Jack both tell him to shut up. Andrews asks Lightoller why the boats are being launched half full. One of the boats out in the water only has about 20 people in it, when the boats were built for 65 people. They were tested in Belfast with a weight of 70 men.
But these boats may buckle.
Now fill these damn boats, Mr. Lightoller, for God's sakes, man! The third-class people open a lower hatch and see the lifeboats being lowered down. Tommy is one of the third-class passengers locked behind the barricade on the lower levels. The staff open the gates to let women and children through only. The men overpower the staff and start running through. The staff force them back by pointing a gun at them. Jack and Rose arrive at Tommy's barricade. Jack and Tommy talk, then Fabrizio sees and hugs Jack. They haven't seen each other pretty much since the start of the film.
Oh, no.
That's what happens when your mate gets a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Cal is in his room emptying the safe, putting money in the heart of the ocean in his pocket. I guess his idea is to buy his way off the ship. I make my own luck.
So do I.
Lovejoy reveals his pistol under his jacket. Would have been sweet here if Lovejoy shot Cal and took his money and necklace.
Yeah.
Jack, Tommy, Rose, and Fabrizio try to make their way around the lower level to get upstairs, but they keep coming back to the blocked barricades. Jack finds a nearby bench and gets Tommy and Fabrizio to help him. They rip the bench from the floor and start knocking the gate down. They break down the door and make their way up. Tommy punches the staff guy who keeps telling them they can't go up there.
You can't go that way. Sick punch.
Yeah, it was a good hit. No, he's Irish, so he knows how to punch. Cut back to the boats being lowered. The panic intensifies. Lightoller starts threatening to shoot people to maintain order. As Lightoller turns back towards the boat, he loads his gun. He was bluffing.
What is it, the line he says, like, back you dogs, or I'll shoot you all like dogs. Keep order here. Keep order, I say.
Yeah, that's pretty much like it. His face is like almost cartoonish sometimes when he's like, I say order here. But yeah, I like the bit where he like points the gun and then when he turns around he starts loading it because he never had it loaded.
Yeah, he didn't know.
Cal and Lovejoy run to a boat, but it's too late. The boat has already been lowered. Lovejoy says to stay near Officer Murdoch. He seems quite practical. Mr. Fantastic has to start shooting his gun off to stop people leaping into the boats as they get lowered. It's starting to fall apart. We haven't much time. Cal offers Officer Murdoch a business proposition. Jack and Rose make it to the deck, along with Tommy and Fabrizio. The band continues to play. Music drowned by. Now I know I'm in first class. Do we have an understanding, Mr. Murdoch? Cal puts a wad of cash into Murdoch's pocket. Murdoch looks at Cal and walks away. Lightoller shoots off his gun at the crowd.
Women and children only, goddamn you.
Women and children only. Jack tells Tommy to check the other side. Lovejoy lets Cal know where Rose is.
Waiting for a boat. With him.
Murdoch asks if there are any more women or children. When there is no answer, Murdoch looks at Cal and says,
Anyone else?
Cal decides against boarding the boat. His thirst for vengeance is too strong. Lovejoy is worried. Bruce Ismay jumps onto a lifeboat that's preparing to be lowered. Murdoch looks right at Ismay, but allows him to stay as the boat lowers. Rose says that she is not going without Jack.
Get on the boat, Rose.
Yes, get on the boat, Rose. My God, look at you. You look a fright. Cal puts a coat around Rose.
Go on, I'll get the next one.
If only Rose had listened, she would have been on a boat and Jack could have had that bit of door to float on later.
Imagine that, yeah.
Yeah.
No, not without you.
I'm a survivor, alright. Don't worry about me.
This line doesn't age well.
Yeah, I know.
I'm a survivor.
My name's Jack Dawson.
I won't survive.
Cal says to Rose that he has an arrangement with an officer on the other side. They can both get off safely. Rose gets on the boat. The boat gets lowered down. You're a good liar.
Almost as good as you. There's no arrangement, is there?
No, there is. Not that you'll benefit much from it. I always win, Jack. One way or another. Rose looks at Jack as the boat continues to be lowered down. The flares behind Jack's head was a nice touch. I like that when she's going down and you see the flares behind Jack's head. It's like, well timed.
Really cool.
Looks good. Rose then jumps off the boat and onto a lower deck. Jack runs down towards her as Rose runs to get back up to him. It's like Romeo and Juliet, which also starred Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yes.
Jack and Rose meet just by the staircase with the clock. Jack asks why she did that, and she is so stupid for doing what she did.
Why'd you do that? Why?
You jump, I jump, right?
Right.
Cal watches them embrace from the top of the stairs. Lovejoy pulls Cal away so he doesn't need to see Jack and Rose together. Cal flips out and grabs Lovejoy's gun and shoots at Jack. Jack and Rose run. I'm not a big fan of this part, as I feel like it puts a cheap action sequence in a film that's about the ship and a disaster, and it feels out of place as the sort of thing only happens in Hollywood summer action films. Not one like this. That's why I find it's weird, because everything else feels like a drama piece, and this all of a sudden is like an action sequence.
Yeah, I would agree.
It feels weird.
And even the real dramatic music behind it's like, it's kind of like fake.
Yeah, you just don't need a gun chase.
No.
And a Titanic disaster. The disaster itself is big enough.
Bit misplaced.
It almost would have been better if he went to aim the gun at Jack in like blind rage and then just decided, stuff it, they're going to drown, left them to drown, and had that sort of character moment of decision that he was letting it go.
Yeah. Again, because he's like smart. He's not someone that's... Although he's got those anger issues, he doesn't really act on them that much, only when he completely snaps. I guess he's completely snapped in this, but it just seems weird.
I don't think he'd completely snap over a woman, to be honest. Like, as much as he wanted to control her, and we've seen that, he's from the upper class. He's used to having to act a certain way all the time and be composed.
I don't think it's about Rose, it's about him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't want to lose. He can leave her, but she can't leave him.
Yeah.
It's more about power and control.
Yeah, absolutely. Even Lovejoy realizes he's out of control, though, because he's trying to get away. Jack and Rose go down to the lower levels and wade through the water. Cal eventually runs out of bullets, then has the realization that he is in waist deep in freezing water. Cal yells out at Jack and Rose, "I hope you enjoy your time together." Cal then starts to laugh, as he just remembered that he put the diamond necklace in the coat, and now Rose has the coat. Jack and Rose hide while the ship continues to fill up with water. Chairs, cutlery, and cabinets are now floating around. Jack and Rose hear a little kid yelling from down the hallway. Jack grabs the kid, but as he does, water starts to come in. The kid's dad eventually shows up and snatches the kid out of Jack's arms. The man is heading down a way that is about to flood up, so Jack and Rose yell at him and chase him to warn him, but it's too late. The door bursts and the man and child get washed away. Jack and Rose slow-mo run away from the water, but ends up getting knocked down by it. When they're slow-mo running here, I think it's actually a scene where it's a stunt double's face.
Yeah, it doesn't look like Kate Winslet.
No, when she's running, it looks kind of digital on her face. Maybe it was the day she almost drowned, and so they didn't want to actually put her in anymore.
Yeah, to be fair, the running water looks quite terrifying, so it could have been from that scene.
They get washed away down the corridor, only stopped by the closed gate that they slam into. Jack and Rose manage to climb up and use the ceiling pipes to maneuver their way up a nearby staircase. Jack is stuck by another gate. One of the stewards runs past the gate. Jack and Rose ask him for help. The panicked steward tries to unlock the gate but drops the keys. The steward apologizes and runs away. Jack goes under the water and eventually finds the keys. Jack has to try and find the right key as the water rises. They get the gate open just as the water is rising to the top. Water is washing up on the decks now. Mr. Murdoch has a look down a nearby accessway and sees water rushing in. As people get more and more panicked, Cal hops up on something to see if above the crowds he notices a kid crying in the corner. Jack and Rose try and get back up to the top decks. Murdoch tells Tommy and the others to get back while pointing a pistol at them. Cal shows up by Mr. Murdoch. "We had a deal, damn you!" Murdoch throws the money Cal gave him right back at Cal.
Your money can't save you any more than it can save me. Get back!
Murdoch shoots at a guy who tries to leap towards him. Then Murdoch shoots Tommy, who also advances. Mr. Murdoch, in total shock to what he has just done, walks towards the edge of the ship. Murdoch salutes Lightoller, then points the gun to his head.
No, Will!
Mr. Murdoch shoots himself, his body falling into the flooded decks below. It's a sad moment, actually. Like I can see why the family members might have been upset that they make him look like a villain, but I think it makes him look like a victim of circumstance. Exactly. He realizes he's been told he has to do this, he's done it, and now he can't live with it.
Again, it's a horrible and unforeseen situation that they never expected, so yeah, I think his actions, it's not his fault.
Cal grabs the crying kid he saw before. I have a child! I have a child! Please, I have a child! Cal gets to the front of the line. Please! I'm all she has in the world. Cal has managed to weasel his way onto a boat. Jack and Rose run past Thomas Andrews, who is standing in one of the lounges. Rose goes back to him.
You won't even make a try for it?
I'm sorry. I didn't build you a stronger ship, young Rose. Jack grabs Rose as they need to leave Mr. Andrews behind. Thomas Andrews gives Rose a life vest. Rose hugs Thomas Andrews goodbye. Some of the first-class passengers have dressed in their Sunday best as they've prepared to go down as gentlemen. Captain Smith watches on as the final lifeboats get readied. A lady with a baby comes up to the captain asking where to go. Smith says nothing and turns away. One of the sailors offers Captain Smith a life vest, but he just stares blankly at him and continues walking to the officer's deck, which is now half flooded. Captain Smith goes into the closed part and shuts the door. The band stop playing as the ship is about to completely sink. The band members say their goodbyes to each other. One of the violinists stays behind and starts to play the hymn, Nearer My God to Thee. As he plays, each band member comes back one by one and plays along with him.
This is a horrible scene. It's
yeah.
Really sad. How the Vasquez characters tucking the kids into bed. I'm like,
oh god, yeah.
I
feel
it.
emotional just remembering this part of the movie.
It's really sad.
She's talking to the kids. She's telling the kids that they're about to go to heaven too.
Yeah.
It's all the great times and stuff they're gonna have. It's oh god.
And and the old lady and the old gentleman in the bed.
It's a great shot though because all the water's rushing in too.
Yeah. It's really, There's certain moments in Titanic that really, are quite emotional.
Yeah.
And, that scene is one of them.
But the bit that makes me the saddest is the moment when they know that they're going to die and decide to play until the very end. While the hymn plays, you see Captain Smith in the cabin with the water floating up outside the window. How he must have been feeling at that moment. Oof. Thomas Andrews fixes the clock on the mantelpiece in the lounge. An old couple are lying in bed with water rushing into their room. And Vasquez from Aliens has tucked her kids back into their bed. People all around the band are running and panicking as the ship begins tipping more and more. Only the top deck is now above water. Fabrizio takes the life vest off Tommy's dead body so he can use it. It's like, it's brutal. Like, what you have to do to survive. Other people are trying to lift up a capsized lifeboat in sheer desperation. Fabrizio starts cutting the rope off one of the last lifeboats. The main staircase starts to flood. Gentlemen, it has been a privilege playing with you tonight. Captain Smith is still in the officers' quarters. Now the glass outside is completely flooded, like looking into an aquarium. The glass eventually gives way, washing Captain Smith away, but as he hangs onto the steering wheel.
Yeah, he does, like, wraps himself around it. Yeah.
The crowd start running towards the back of the boat as the ship tips up. The shot ends with us catching up with Jack and Rose. Had kind of forgot about them for a while, actually, there. Yeah. It's a bit where you kind of forget about them because everything else is happening. Is it?
But then again, so much is happening between that and us coming back to Rose. It's like, yeah, you do forget. We have to stay on the ship as long as possible. Come on.
Jack and Rose make their way towards the very back of the ship. People are getting washed away by the water in multiple parts of the ship now. Fabrizio almost gets sucked back into the ship via a window, but manages to save himself. Cal is fighting people off the lifeboat with an oar. It's like, get back!
Jack, you'll swamp the boat!
Yeah, and he's like whacking him with an oar. The cables on the funnels start to snap, and the iconic giant funnels start to fall down. Titanic had 4 funnels, but only apparently 3 of them were actually attached to the furnace.
Oh.
The 4th one was probably for decorative purposes, I reckon. Poor Fabrizio gets crushed by one of the big funnels.
No.
Poor Fabrizio, he deserved better.
He's kind of, yeah, he's sort of like a nothing character, eh? Like, he's Jack's friend, but he doesn't really serve any purpose other than that.
He's Jack's friend until Jack gets bored and moves on.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, the big funnel, imagine how many lifeboats they could have fit where that non-working funnel is.
Yeah.
They could have saved probably a few hundred more people.
They did have more lifeboats than was legally required because back then there was no law. You were supposed to have a boat for every person on board. It was done on weight. And the law was like done about 30 years previously when the boats were a lot smaller. So when you're over a certain weight, you only need to carry like 10 lifeboats. So I think Titanic had about between 16 and 20 lifeboats. And they had a lot more than actually was legally required. But once Titanic sunk, then it became a law that you had to have a lifeboat for every man, woman and child on board. The screams of the people as the glass breaks in the first class areas is horrifying. The lifeboat rowing away while the propellers of the Titanic lift up is a great shot.
It's almost like a painting, like paintings that they made, artists did of the Titanic. Like, I think that's probably what James Cameron's paying tribute to.
People start falling from the top of Titanic to the waters below. Jack and Rose continue making their way towards the back of the ship. They eventually make it to the back.
Jack, this is where we first met.
Cut to bodies floating in the flooded areas of Titanic. All the fine china starts crashing to the ground. The ship is now tipping so high that people start sliding down the ship. One guy leaps off the ship and smacks into the back propeller on the way down. Oof. The guy drinking on the back of the ship is apparently a cook who people say was seen drinking from a flask as the ship went down. That's why he's on there, the back guy with them.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I do remember him now.
Cut to Rose's mother, Ruth's facial expression of seeing the horrors that is happening on the ship. God almighty. Bruce Ismay turns away in guilt and shame for what is happening. The lights go out on the great ship. Lovejoy is still on the ship, bleeding from the head as the ship begins to split down the middle. So Lovejoy's like right in the split area.
He is, yeah.
So he would have been
He
gone.
would have fallen down, yeah.
As Titanic splits, the back half falls back down to a flat state once more. All the people who are swimming at the back of the ship are crushed. More of the funnels break away. The back end begins to lift up again, preparing for Titanic's final descent into the ocean. Jack and Rose climb onto the back railing so they don't fall down. The boat stands completely upright for a few moments. The sound of people slamming into objects is just nasty. The ship then begins to slowly sink down.
This is it.
The ship sinks more and more.
Hold on. The ship is gonna suck us down. Take a deep breath when I say, kick for the surface and keep kicking. Do not let go of my hand.
Jack knows a lot about boats. Here's my theory. I'm not sure if I heard this somewhere or not, but this is as I was actually watching this, I thought of this. Here's a theory. Do you think that Jack might have actually been a guardian angel who was sent to save Rose? Hence, he saved her when she was going to jump, and why he had to die in the end. His mission had been completed. Could explain how he knew what to do and how to save her.
It's true. It could be like in It's a Wonderful Life situation where the guardian angel comes down.
Well, it could be the thing is, yeah, that she was going to kill herself, but then Jack stopped her and then gave her this life to realise that she's more life than what she had. He not only changed her life by saving it, but he changed her life completely by giving her a new direction.
I've never thought of it this way, but it's a good point.
That's just a theory.
Ready? Now!
Rose takes a deep breath as Titanic goes under the water for the last time. Rose and Jack hold on as long as they can underwater, but the pull of the ship makes them lose their grip. Rose pops up out of the water looking for Jack. The zoom-out shot of Rose surrounded by all the panicking survivors is horrifying and very surreal. It's like, oof, everyone in the water. One of the panicked people uses Rose as a flotation device, forcing her head underwater. Jack sees what is happening and repeatedly punches the guy in the face to get him to let go.
Swim, Rose. I need you to swim.
Rose tries to swim, but the water is so cold. Jack leads her to a floating door and gets Rose to jump up on it. Time for that question, guys. Was there, in your opinion, enough room for both Jack and Rose to fit on that door?
Yes.
Yeah, I think there was room. I'm not sure it would have floated so well with 2 people on it. Like, I think they would have got hypothermia and died, perhaps. But there was space.
I'm thinking that if both the weight of them on it, it would push it so it's under the water.
Yeah.
So they, like I say, they would have died of cold still because they're
Yeah.
still in the water.
I feel like Jack probably realised that and just let Rose be on the piece.
I think if he understands the physics of sinking ships, then he probably well understands the physics of floating doors.
Yeah, I would say.
Just realised too that he had no family as well. Another reason why he might have been a guardian angel.
Yeah.
He had no connections to anyone, and no one have even heard of him.
No.
So Jack hangs onto the side of the door with 3/4 of his body still in the water. You can see how pale their skin is, and the digital breath added in. So I'm pretty sure it's digital breath in this thing. One of the crew guys blows a whistle, hoping for nearby assistance from the lifeboats.
The boats are coming back for us, Rose. Hold on just a little bit longer. They went away for the suction, but now they'll be coming back.
Well, you're doing pretty good for someone who's shivering. Ruth and Molly watch on as the people in the water beg for help. The sailor in charge of the lifeboat tells Molly that they can't go back to save them. If they do, they'll swamp the boat. They'll pull them right down. Molly tries to get the boat motivated to save the people in the water, but none move to help. I don't understand the one of you. What's the matter with you? It's your men out there. There's plenty of room for more.
And there'll be one less on this boat if you don't shut that hole in your face.
Molly sits down, the only one who is willing to help. I hate the guy, but like he says, shut that hole in your face.
Shut your pie hole.
Shut it now.
The lifeboats eventually come together. Mr. Fantastic gets the boat sorted so he can send a boat to pick up survivors in the water. It's now been a fair while since the Titanic sunk. Most of the screaming voices are now silent and motionless in the water. Jack's still hanging on though, shivering away. You know he might just make it after all. You can see ice in his hair and eyebrows. Jack says how he intends to write a strongly worded letter to the White Star Line. Jack may have been the pioneer of I wish to speak to the manager.
He very nearly had the haircut, so...
The original Karen.
Original Karen, Jack Karen.
I love you, Jack.
Don't you do that. Don't you say your goodbyes. Not yet. Do you understand me?
I'm so cold.
Listen, Rose, you're gonna get out of here. You're gonna go on. And you're gonna make lots of babies. And you're gonna watch them grow. You're gonna die an old lady, warm in her bed.
Over 25, Jack?
You knew this was coming, didn't you?
I said, old lady.
So about 24.
Not here. Not this night. Not like this. Do you understand me?
I can't feel my body.
Winning that ticket, Rose, was the best thing that ever happened to me. It brought me to you. And I'm thankful for that, Rose.
What about Fabrizio?
Who?
Your friend from the start of the film.
Oh, him. I forgot he existed. Pretty sure he got crushed after my other new friend Tommy was shot and killed. Anyway, I'm thankful.
It's just like they don't mention him at all. It's like, yeah.
You must do me this honor. You must promise me that you'll survive. That you won't give up. No matter what happens, no matter how hopeless, promise me now, Rose, and never let go of that promise.
I promise.
Never let go.
I'll never let go, Jack. I'll never let go.
It's like, as I was doing that, I was emotional as the scene. I was like, there's a couple of things I got to add in here because people are going to ask questions. Yeah. What happened to Fabrizio? Oh, I think he got crushed.
Yeah, I think you did, yeah.
Mr. Fantastic leads a lifeboat towards the floating survivors of Titanic, or what used to be the floating survivors of Titanic. Mr. Fantastic asks the crew with him to check the bodies for survivors. What a grisly scene this is.
Is there anybody alive out there? Can anyone hear me? Is there anyone alive out there?
Mr. Fantastic continues to call out. There is a lady with a baby in her arms, dead in the water.
We waited too long.
Mr. Fantastic then picks himself back up again.
We'll keep jacking them.
Mr. Fantastic continues to call out. Rose is staring up to the stars, singing to herself. Rose then turns her head. You can hear the crackling of the ice on her skin when she turns her head. She sees the light from Mr. Fantastic's torch. Rose lets Jack know that a boat is coming. Rose shakes Jack, but there is no response. The boat is going past. You can see the guy with the whistle from before, with the whistle still in his mouth.
Jack, there's a boat. Jack.
Rose then realizes Jack is dead. Jack now has ice in his nostrils. I noticed that. It's like his nostrils are full of ice. I'm like, oof.
Must be cold.
A bit nippy.
Jack, there's another boat, Jack.
Cue haunting Titanic music.
Jack.
The boat is sailing away. All hope seems lost. Rose then closes her eyes and lies her face down before reopening them, remembering her promise to Jack. Rose tries to call out for the boat.
Come back. Come back. Come back. Come back. Come back.
The crew is telling Mr. Fantastic that there is nothing here. Rose continues to call out, but the boat cannot hear her. Rose detaches Jack's frozen hand from hers.
I'll never let go. I promise.
Rose then lets go. Well, she does. She does, all right? She lets go as soon as she says that. Jack sinks down into the darkness of the ocean. So you never see his body obviously at the bottom of the ocean, so it never after that never exists because he's a guardian angel.
You're really pushing this theory, aren't you?
I just want to see it on YouTube one day. Someone goes, Jack may have been a guardian angel in Titanic. I'll go, there you go.
Yeah, you took my idea.
Yeah, someone stole my idea. That's good. It means it's working. Rose uses all her energy that is left to get back in the water and swims over to the guy with the whistle. Rose blows the whistle, which Mr. Fantastic hears. Rose keeps blowing the whistle until the lifeboats arrive. Cut to a shot of old Rose's eyes.
1,500 people went into the sea when Titanic went under us. There were 20 boats floating nearby, and only one came back. One.
Rose's granddaughter has tears streaming down her face.
6 were saved from the water, myself included. 6 out of 1,500. Afterward, the 700 people in the boats had nothing to do but wait. Wait to die, wait to live, wait for an absolution that would never come.
Cut to the survivors sitting waiting in boats, including Dirtbag Cow, as daylight starts to take hold. Rose is lying in a lifeboat with a blanket around her, looking like Frodo after he was stabbed with that Morgul knife blade.
Yeah.
The green of emergency flares colorizes Rose's face as Mr. Fantastic uses the flare to signal the incoming rescue vessel, the Carpathia. You see all the icebergs around the Carpathia as the lifeboats row towards it, showing you just how reckless Titanic was. This iceberg surrounding the Carpathia. Rose is sitting on the deck of the Carpathia with other third-class survivors. Cal comes down looking for Rose, or maybe just to get his diamond necklace back. Rose uses the blanket she's wrapped in to hide from Cal.
That was the last time I ever saw him. He married, of course, and inherited his millions, but the crash of 29 hit his interest hard, and he put a pistol in his mouth that year. Also, I read.
Cut to Rose looking up at the Statue of Liberty on a rainy New York night.
Can I take your name, please, love?
It's kind of what he sounds
He
like.
does, yeah, it's great.
Dawson. Rose Dawson.
I don't want to wait for my life to be over. I want to know right now, is this TV?
We never found anything on Jack. There's no record of him at all.
He's an angel.
No, there wouldn't be, would there? And I've never spoken of him until now. Not to anyone, not even your grandfather. A woman's heart is a deep ocean of secrets. But now you know there was a man named Jack Dawson, and that he saved me. In every way a person can be saved. I don't even have a picture of him. He exists now, only in my memory.
It cuts to the submarines leaving the Titanic wreck, plunging the great ship once again into darkness. Lovett throws the cigar away. He was saving it for when he found the diamond. 3 years. I thought of nothing but Titanic. But I never got it. I never let it in. Cut to a shot of the ocean at night. Old Rose walks out to the back of the ship and gets up on the railing. Old Rose opens up her hand to reveal all this time she had the heart of the ocean. It cuts back to Rose looking up at the Statue of Liberty in 1912. She puts her hand in the coat pocket and finds the heart of the ocean. Old Rose then throws the diamond necklace into the water.
Oop.
Yeah, the oop. It then cuts to Old Rose sleeping and goes over the photos she has by her bedside. It shows the many adventures Rose has had, like flying a plane and riding a horse, just as her and Jack promised to do. It then cuts to Old Rose's dreams, where it's a view of the shipwreck of Titanic. It soon transitions back to life, returning to its former glory. You are then greeted by the doorman who lets you through. Everyone who died in the sinking are in the grand staircase. You see the likes of John Jacob Astor, the band members, Tommy, Mr. Murdoch, and Thomas Andrews. There is also a man waiting at the clock with his back turned. As the camera gets closer, Jack turns away from the clock, smiles, and holds his hand out for Rose. It is then revealed to the audience the point of view is young Rose. Jack and Rose kiss. The room stand and applaud Jack and Rose. It's like the spirits are talking to Rose since she's now at the very location of the sinking. It then goes to the light above and white light fills the room. Do you guys think Old Rose actually died in this moment?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's back where she wanted to be, and she's back with the spirits of the people that she lost in that time.
Do you notice when before it goes to the live shot of the ship at the end, all of the photos are of stuff that Jack said they were going to do together?
Well, they were flying when they were on the front of the ship, and she said they wanted to go horseback riding because she was going to ride like a man.
Yeah.
Ride like a man.
Tobacco like a man.
Like, it wasn't too many jokes in the end of that last one because I didn't want to put too many jokes in that last sinking part because it's quite impactful, I felt.
Oh, it is, yeah. It's pretty powerful.
So all the jokes are mostly in the first part.
Yes.
apart from the Fabrizio stuff. I just wanted to know where he was.
Yeah.
Right, well, that was a big and emotional roller coaster.
It was.
So let's go to our ratings, shall we?
Sir, may I suggest Nobody Does It Bennett?
Right, so we've done our ratings now for Titanic. Let's start with story. Jemma, what have you given the story out of 5 stars?
A wholehearted 5 out of 5 stars. It's an exceptional tale. You've got a bit of romance, you've got a bit of tension, intrigue, some interesting characters, a bit of backstory. I just love it.
And Tenson, what have you given it?
I've given it 4.5. I think parts of the romance side I don't really like too much, but I think it's important that it's there so you can build up sort of an emotional connection with Jack and Rose. And obviously the tragedy of the ship sinking I think adds to the story as well, but it's important because it's what it's about. But yeah, 4.5 for me.
If I was voting, which I'm not, but it's just my opinion, I would have given it a 4 out of 5. I think the last hour and a half, our last hour 40 is magic and some of the best I've ever seen. And I do like the love story side of things too, but I think it's a little long.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know how they could do it, maybe make it 50 minutes rather than an hour and a half before the sinking. Then you've got yourself a good 2.5 hour movie rather than a 3 hour, 14-minute movie.
I agree the pacing is quite off, especially in the first half.
A lot of setup, which I feel it's good to have, but if you had an extended cut, that'd be great. But if you had a theatrical cut, where maybe I guess you could take out the dancing, the bit where she goes back down to 3rd class and stuff like that.
Yeah, it feels more like a deleted scene.
Yeah, it feels like it's just an added in, which is fun, but it's just something that I was okay, when you're making notes for a 3-hour movie, it's do we need all this? So it's more from I had to take notes for this, and I realized that some story elements I could have done without.
And I feel like that's actually a really important part of the story and her development, because I think if she didn't have that experience of how the other half lives, she wouldn't have really been finding her vitality in life. We've effectively got a character who feels stagnant and suicidal, and she needs to have more than just a fling to be able to be pulled out of that. I think it would trivialize where she was versus where she ended up to then turn around and say, hey, I'm not getting on that lifeboat with you, Mum.
Then I'll say this, could he have done the same message in a 2-minute montage than a 10-minute dance sequence.
Possibly, but it's also really fun. It's one of the most fun parts of the movie.
I'm not saying it's not fun. It is
Yeah.
a fun wee part. I'm just saying that I was like, after you're looking at 3 hours 40 minutes, I was like, yeah, you could have his director's cut. So you could edit in, but I does it need to be in there? It's nice to be in there, but it didn't need to have the whole thing. But anyway, my one doesn't count anyway, so it's 5 and 4.5. So there you go. For acting, Tenson, what have you given it out of 5 stars?
I've given it 4 out of 5. I think the movie is perfectly cast. Like, every single actor is good for their role that they've chosen. But yeah, some of the acting does get a bit cheesy at times, especially I think. Well, Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio are quite young at this point, and I think they don't quite have the experience yet. But yeah, still 4 out of 5 for me.
No, that's fair.
But some of the historical characters I would say have been perfectly cast, like Kathy Bates as Molly, and the captain and all of that. I think
Thomas
it cast
Andrews.
really well. Yeah, definitely. But yeah.
And Jemma.
I gave it a 5 simply because I like that it's cheesy. And it came down to a personal preference thing. Like, I know they were young and still developing their acting chops, but I think Kate Winslet does a really good job of consistently keeping up an accent that's not natural. I think it blends in really well. It doesn't stand out that tricky to maintain. And I don't know. People call the Titanic chick flicky, and I enjoy a good chick flick, so maybe that's why I thought like the acting was stellar. Like when you compare it to other romances, or it's on par if not better.
If I was voting, I would give acting a 5 out of 5. I think there's not a weak person in any of the roles. Like Kate Winslet's amazing as Rose. Leonardo DiCaprio is obviously sensational as Jack. It's what launched him into what he is today. Every single side character that you have, not one of them is, I don't find a caricature of that person or anything like that. They actually feel like they actually embodied the role. So there's not a weak point. So I really enjoyed the casting. I thought if there's no weak point, I have to give it 5. So that's why I would have given it 5. But I understand 4 as well because, yeah, like I said, it's an opinion. If you feel like it's a little bit cheesy and stuff, then yeah, absolutely.
Not all of it is, but yeah, some parts where it's like, oh, that's a bit cringe.
The fact that she says Jack so much really irritates me.
Yeah.
It's like you could just talk to him without saying his name. He knows you're talking to him. There's only 2 of you there.
Or vice versa, like he says Rose a lot.
Yeah, and when he died at the end there, he wouldn't even respond.
Yeah.
So rude.
Right, so how well it holds up? Jemma, what have you given it?
Given it another 5 because for me, when I watched this at like 7 or 8 at one day school versus when I watched it as a teenager versus now, I feel the exact same way every time. I don't look at it and think like, oh, you can tell this is old now. It just still great, still quality, top tier.
Fair enough. And Tenson?
For me, I've given it 4.5. I think a lot of it does hold up, like visually, a lot of the effects. But I think, as you mentioned earlier, like some of when it's quite far back and you're looking at the ship from a distance, like some of the figures look like quite digitized. But I think for the majority, like all of the sinking, I think still holds up really well today for a 20-plus-year-old movie. So yeah, 4.5 for me.
If I was going to be voting, which I'm not, I would give it a 4.5 as well, just because it holds up extremely well. Like, it looks great, it's timeless, and it's for a time period that still looks very good today. The way they did most of it practically is amazing. The 0.5 I'd give off is just, yeah, there's a few things special effects wise that you notice. I noticed a little bit through it, like the Kate Winslet face recreation, the overshots of the ship. Sometimes you can see little miniature guys kind of walking around with their arms kind of like not moving, but so hard to notice that that's why it's only a 0.5. And
I think for very early days of visual effects, like it still looks really, really good.
yeah, it's like you have to go looking for things to find it. So 4.5 still those pretty exceptional.
The more high quality you get to watch the movie and the more you notice it.
Yeah. For music, Tenson, what have you give it?
Oh, 5. Easy 5 for me. Yeah, amazing score, and it's one that I can just listen to sort of without having to watch the movie as well. James Horner really captured the emotion of the story like throughout, and the whole mystery of the ship and the haunting aspects like really, really well. So yeah, 5 for me.
And Jemma, what have you given music out of 5?
I concur, 5. The recurring motifs and the fact that they were able to use the same bit of music but sort of change the emotional valence of it each time to reflect what was happening and where you were at in the story was really compelling.
Okay, if I was voting, I would give it a 2. I think it's got some good themes, but it's just not that great. Nah, I'd give it a 5.
I was like,
The
what?
shock on our faces. We're not ready to throw hands.
Just see like, what?
What did he say?
Absolutely given a 5. I say it's one of the most haunting kind of themes that I've ever heard, and in a way that not just haunting by scaring you on screen, it's haunting like it almost makes you feel for in that moment just for everyone that lost their lives in that one. And every time I hear it, it just makes me think of what it might have been like. It's almost like sends you right back to not exactly how they feel, but just how they must have been kind of feeling a little bit.
Yeah.
For visuals, how good it looks, Jemma, what have you given it?
I gave it a 4, just for all the reasons that you guys brought up before we were talking about how it held up, like some of the special effects stuff. I didn't notice it when I was watching it, but I was watching one of the original DVD releases on an old damaged TV, so like you don't notice the little details and stuff. But I actually think for the era, it's pretty good.
And Tenson, what have you given it?
I've given 5. I think a lot of the visuals in the movie are like amazing, especially some of the shots of the ship, like during the sinking, really mind blowing. But also, like I think you mentioned it, the shot of the blades coming up and all of the lifeboats, like that was really, really cool. But yeah, for me, 5 out of 5.
I would also give it a 5. I class how well the effects more and how well it holds up. Visuals is more like just how well it's shot, sort of thing. So I'd give it a 5. Some of the shots I've seen in this is incredible. Like even the hallway scenes, like when it's flooding and all the lighting stuff going on. The Titanic exterior shots. The shots of like the ships as it's like say sinking, like you see the shot of when Jack is like handcuffed up and you see that the water going up, the water that's actually surrounding the captain. Another incredible shot. The lifeboats lowering down, and just the shots and stuff of people in the water. It's just captured really, really well, and it's captured in a way where it creates an atmosphere of just emotion. The way he shoots it is so you know that you should feel a certain way. And I think it does it really, really well. Right, so I've totaled up the ratings here for Titanic, guys. So for story, Jemma gave it 5 stars and Tenson gave it 4.5. For acting, Jemma gave it 5 and Tenson gave it 4. For how well it holds up, Jemma gave it 5 and Tenson gave it 4.5. For music, Jemma gave it 5 and Tenson gave it 5. And for visuals, how good it looks, Jemma gave it 4 and Tenson gave it 5. So it gives Jemma a grand total of 24 out of 25 possible stars. And Tenson 23 out of 25 possible stars. Gives Titanic a 47 out of 50 stars. Which is very, very high on the MRU charts. Well, 47 stars, this puts Titanic in 4th place.
Ooh.
4th place out of now about 22, 23 films. So in 1st place is Jurassic Park with a perfect 50 stars. Can't be beat, only be matched. In 2nd place is Spider-Man 2 with 49 stars, 2004. In 3rd place is another James Horner score with Jumanji, 47.5 stars. And now in 4th place with 47 stars is Titanic from 1997. So top 5 is pretty good for Titanic.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
I'm not surprised it's there. I thought it would be somewhere in the top 5 because this is an incredible film. People who judge it as just a chick flick really need to go back and watch it as a story, not just as a love story, but as a story of just tragedy. I love the way it's set up. I love the way it's executed. Yeah, it's another amazing James Cameron film.
Absolutely.
So 47 out of 50 stars, 4th place. Congratulations, Titanic, for getting there. You know, it wasn't a total disaster after all.
Oh.
All right. If you like what you hear or have any suggestions or thoughts for us, who knows, it might be about Titanic. Well, you can contact us by going to Nobody Does It Bennett Facebook page or by hitting us up on the Twitter at NobodyDIBennett. You can also email us at nobodydoesitbennett@outlook.com or by going to our website nobodydoesitbennett.buzzsprout.com. Nobody Does It Bennett is available on Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio and other podcast outlets. Nobody Does It Bennett is now available also on YouTube, so don't forget to like and subscribe. Now that we've run through the movie and rated the film, do any of you guys have any final thoughts about Titanic?
I was just gonna say, like, you know, Titanic's a movie that I'll continue to watch, like, over the years and still be fascinated by just the movie and the shipwreck itself. I think it's, just mesmerizing to think that a massive disaster like this has happened in history. But I think, like, the movie's great in sort of bringing people's attention to what happened and sort of sparked interest for a lot of people in the disaster. So
I'm going to put you on the spot a bit here, Tenson. Where would you rate it in amongst James Cameron films? Just roughly. You don't have to say exactly.
I'd put it up there, I think.
Top 3?
Yeah, probably. I'd put it between Aliens and Terminator 2, I think. Well, it's somewhere in that. Don't know the exact order, but yeah, definitely in the top 3 for me.
I think I'd probably put Terminator 2 as number 1. It would be tough between Aliens and Titanic because it's that close.
It's a better movie than Avatar, and I would say probably the original Terminator. But yeah, I think, definitely top 3.
And Jemma, any final thoughts about the great Titanic?
Yeah, I just think it's such a like a bittersweet kind of beautiful story in terms of you've got obviously this huge amount of tension and just like the sheer like emotional journey that is hearing about the sinking of the Titanic and the lives lost, and then you've also got this beautiful sort of coming of age and finding oneself love story and personal growth and stuff. So I just think for me it's one of those stories that'll stay with me forever and I'll never let go.
Never let go. Remember that. Promise me. Titanic is a breathtaking masterpiece that often gets criticised as being a movie for girls, when it has so much going for it. That last 90 minutes after the iceberg hits is amazing, and I'd put it up against any other film. Jemma, Tenson, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I hope you enjoyed our journey back through time.
I did, very much.
Glad you found out what happened to Fabrizio.
We care about Fabrizio.
Fabrizio, I want like a Lion King 1.5, but with Fabrizio's story on Titanic.
Perhaps we should sell Greg Bennett t-shirts saying I remember Fabrizio.
What about Fabrizio?
Yeah.
We have his sympathies.
And James Cameron's like, we don't talk about Fabrizio. No.
But it would be interesting having like another Titanic 1.5, but from Fabrizio and Tommy's point of view, because you never see them for half the movie.
They're just minor characters.
They would have had a whole different experience.
Oh, definitely.
On that ship. It would have been interesting. Thank you guys tonight, and thank you for listening. Remember, some others may do it better, but nobody does it Bennett. Take care.
It's the end of the show, and now it's time to go. Don't be sad, just be glad. Then nobody does it better.